What's up YouTube, welcome back to another video on my channel Skotrix, and today as you can see we are back not on NBA 2K21 but instead we're going to be on this ranking screen, and I'm going to be ranking every single badge, every single finishing badge in NBA 2K21 current gen from best, which is going to go in the S tier right there at the top, all the way down to worst, which is going to go in the F tier right there at the bottom. And I'm also going to be talking a little bit, not as much about what each badge does, but rather why I'm ranking it, where I'm ranking it, since I think most people already know what all the badges do. So I'm just going to be talking a little bit about why I rank each badge where I rank it, just in a very brief description, but I'll try not to drag out the video too long. But before we get into the badges right here really quickly, I just want to mention, if y'all have not subscribed to my channel yet, make sure you click that sub button. Only about 2% of people who watch my videos are actually subbed to my channel. So if you click that subscribe button right now, you can join the 2% gang. I really appreciate it, helps out a lot. And also I stream on Twitch. My Twitch link will be down in the description below. Make sure you go follow me over there if you enjoy watching live streams. But with all that being said, without any further ado, let's get right into the video here. Alright, so I'll get right into it here. The first badge that we're going to be going over is going to be Teardropper. And I'm going to put this all the way down into the F category. I really don't recommend Teardropper unless you shoot a lot of teardrops or runners or floaters or anything like that. You really don't need it. It's not an important badge, and most people don't even shoot runners or floaters at all. So one of the worst finishing badges in the game. And next up we have one of the best finishing badges in the game. That's going to be Skotrix Finisher. This is a super important badge for every single position, every single build basically, whether you're a guard, big man, wing, whatever. Skotrix Finisher is a super good finishing badge. It's going to allow you to get through contact and finish at the rim much more consistently, so that's a badge that you're definitely going to want for any slasher build. If you're on like a post scorer or something, you probably won't need it, but it still might be worth it if you have a lot of finishing badges. And next up right here we have Pro Touch. Pro Touch is a decent badge. I'm going to put it into the C category. It's not terrible, it's not amazing, it really is just an average badge. And the type of situation I could really see a player using Pro Touch is if you have a high layup rating, like maybe your layup's like a 90 or something, but you don't really have your dunk upgraded, so you're really taking layups most of the time and you're good at timing them, you have a lot of practice, then Pro Touch might be a good badge for you, but otherwise, you could usually ignore it unless you have like a ton of finishing badges, or like I said, you're more of a layup player than a dunk player. So Pro Touch C tier right there. Next up we have Putback Boss. Putback Boss I'm going to put into the D tier. Again, not a terrible badge, just don't really see the usage for it too much. Obviously for guards it's basically a useless badge, you really don't need it. But where Putback Boss does find some value is with big men, especially if you're like a really like traditional big man, like 7 foot plus, and you're mostly finishing inside and you have a lot of finishing badges. You could probably find a spot to put Putback Boss onto maybe like silver or gold, but otherwise you really shouldn't need it on most builds. Most builds there's a lot of better options rather than Putback Boss. And next up right here we have Lob City Finisher, and I'm going to put Lob City Finisher into the B category. This is a good badge if you're obviously catching a lot of lobs. I recommend this badge for any like paint beasts or glass cleaning finishers. This is a good badge just to put on to maybe like bronze, maybe even silver or gold, but bronze is probably good enough for this badge, and it'll help you catch lobs a lot more consistently. But most of the time for guards or builds that aren't catching a lot of lobs, you don't really need that. It's not too important. So next up right here we have Deep Hooks. I'm going to put Deep Hooks into the A category. It's a really good badge for post scorers, but if you're not a post scorer you can completely ignore it. But since it is so good just for specifically for post scorers, I'm going to put it into the A category. Obviously this build will help you score hook shots from way deeper and make them way more consistently. So solid badge right there. Next up right here we have Giant Slayer. I'm going to put Giant Slayer into the B category. This is a decent badge. Again, not a super good badge, not an S or an A tier badge, but a decent badge similar to Pro Touch. If you are taking a lot more layups rather than dunks, you may want Giant Slayer. It also does help for dunks if you're trying to dunk on big men, but I feel like it's more of a good badge for guards that are going up for a lot of layups with big men in the area. It will help you make those layups more consistently, and it will also help you get dunks more consistently over bigger opponents. But if you are a big, like if you're like 6'8", 6'9", 6'10", or taller, this is basically a completely useless badge for you, since most of the opponents that you're going to be going up against are around the same height as you, or if you're going up against a guard, even shorter. So really not too good of a badge right here for any big men, mostly just for guards. It is a solid badge. And next up right here we have Drop Stepper. I'm going to put Drop Stepper into the D category. Could even go in the F category, but I'm going to put it into the D category. I just don't really see the usage for Drop Stepper. If you're doing a lot of drop steps, you know, you could put it on, but if you're not doing drop steps, which I think most people probably aren't, then you really won't need it. But this is one of those badges that you'll kind of know if you need it. Like if you're doing a lot of drop steps, you're probably going to want it. If not, you can completely ignore it because it'll be useless for you. I'll actually even put it into the E category right here, just because it's just not too useful for 99% of builds. And then next up right here we have Acrobat. I'm going to put Acrobat into the A category. This is a pretty good badge. I recommend getting it onto silver. It'll help you out a lot with finishing at the rim consistently, going like up and under, or doing change up layups in the air, or it even does help with some regular layup animations. So it's a pretty good badge for basically any slasher, and I recommend having it on silver right there. And next up right here we have Showtime, and Showtime I'm going to put it into the D category. This badge has its spots. Maybe if you're playing in the Rec or the 5v5 Pro-Am, this will probably be a good badge for you. But if you're playing in the park, if you're playing in the NBA or the 3v3 Pro-Am or anything like that, or even if you're not finishing at the rim a lot in 5v5 game modes, then you're probably not going to need Showtime. It's a decent badge, but it's not really too good in most situations, and there's a lot of badges that I would invest in over Showtime, so I'm putting it in the D category right here. But next up we have a really good badge, and that's Relentless Finisher. I'm going to put this into the S category. This is a super good badge. Any slasher needs this badge basically all the way up to Hall of Fame. That's pretty much all I have to say about it. Then next up we have Pick and Roller. I'm going to put Pick and Roller into the E category. This is again a decent badge in some situations, but for most players you really won't need Pick and Roller. Obviously you're going to know if you're going to need it if you're setting a lot of screens and you're catching a lot of passes on the cuts off of those screens, then this might be a badge for you. But I feel like most of the time when you're setting screens, it's more or less so that the guard can get open, and if you're the one who's going to score off the pick and roll, you're probably going to be wide open, because if your guard goes off the screen, he's probably not going to pass to you unless they go up to double him. And if they go up to double him, obviously you're going to be wide open, so you're not going to need a badge to be able to boost your ability to score in that situation, since you're going to be open. So Pick and Roller, it has its spots, but it's really not too important. You really don't need it in 99% of situations, so that's why it's in the E tier right there. And next up right here we have Fast Break Finisher, and I'm going to put Fast Break Finisher into the D category. This is another one of those takeover boosting badges that's decent, but in most situations you probably don't need it. If you have over 20 finishing badges though, you could consider investing into Fast Break Finisher. Really all you need it onto is like bronze or silver, even though it's good at all tiers. But I really don't see the value in investing 3 or 4 finishing badges into this one badge, so I'm putting it at the D tier. It could even go in the C tier. It's decent, it's not amazing. Again, I only see any value for it in a build that has at least 20 finishing badges, so that you can get the more important finishing badges first. But again, decent badge. Next up right here we have Fancy Footwork, and I'm going to put Fancy Footwork into the B category. Obviously in a game like 2K20 this was an obvious S tier, but in 2K21 hop steps are still decent, but they're just not as dominant, so it's a B tier badge this year. Decent, but nothing too amazing. Next up right here we have Cross Key Scorer. I'm going to put Cross Key Scorer into the C category. I think this is one of the more underrated finishing badges, just because I basically see nobody ever using this badge, but it is decent. It is a badge that you can consider investing into if you have like a Paint Beast, Glass Cleaning Finisher, something like that. You can put this onto bronze or silver, and it's a decent badge to have. But similar to Fast Break Finisher, it's one of those badges that I would only recommend investing into if you have at least 20 finishing badges, or at least 17 or 18 finishing badges maybe. Then you could consider investing into this, but otherwise there's going to be obviously a lot of other better badges, and one of those better badges is coming up next, and that's going to be Contact Finisher. This is an obvious S tier badge. Obviously it helps you get more posterizer dunks, which is super good. So this is an obvious S tier badge. I don't think I have to go too in depth into why I'm putting it here. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. So next up right here we have Consistent Finisher, and I'm going to put Consistent Finisher into the, I'll put it into the B category because it's pretty much on par with these badges here. Consistent Finisher is decent, but similar to a badge like Pro Touch, I would mostly recommend it for builds that have high layup ratings but lower dunk ratings, because if you're going up for layups more, obviously you're going to get more value out of this badge, especially if you're not good at timing your layups, rather than if you're going up and you're dunking most of the time. This badge isn't going to help you out too much, so I'll put it into the B category right here. Decent badge, not super amazing, not on par with these 5 badges up here, but not terrible, not as bad as some of these badges right here. Pretty much an average badge right there in Consistent Finisher. It has its spots, but it's nothing crazy. And then last but not least, we have Back Down Punisher, and Back Down Punisher is another one of those interesting badges. Could go as high as the A tier, could go as low as maybe like the D tier or even the E tier. It really depends on your build. If you have a post scorer build, obviously this is an A tier badge. If you don't have a post scorer build, this is basically useless. Even if you have a Paint Beast or a Glass Cleaning Finisher, I wouldn't recommend this badge, so I'm going to put it into the C category right here. But if you have a post scorer, definitely put it on. It's a good badge. If not, you won't need it. Even if you're a paint beast, you're really not going to need it because you're not going to be backing down. Well, I mean like a slashing paint beast, like a 6'9" paint beast, not like a 7'2" paint beast that's made for scoring in the paint. If you have like a slashing paint beast or a glass cleaning finisher, you don't need this build or this badge because you're not going to be backing big men down that much. More often than not, if you're going to be backing down on a build like that, you're going to be going up against a guard, and you really won't need this badge to back down a guard anyways if you're on a big man. So it's really only good for a post scorer, obviously pretty much useless for a guard. So I'm going to put it in the C category right here. And yeah, that's actually the last badge right there for the NBA 2K21 current gen finishing badges. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you like, subscribe to my channel if you're new. Like I said, only 2% of people who watch my videos are actually subbed to my channel. So if you click that subscribe button right now, you can join the 2% gang. I really appreciate it. Helps it a lot. And this is actually going to be the first video in a 4-day series. I'm going to be going over tomorrow the best shooting badges in NBA 2K21 current gen. Then on Thursday will be playmaking, and Friday will be defense. So make sure y'all stay tuned for all that. And obviously I made these videos also in like September when current gen first came out, but this is a much more updated version of the badge rankings for every category. So hopefully you guys who are still playing NBA 2K21 current gen can find some value out of these videos. But yeah, also my Twitch link is in the description below. Make sure you go follow me over there if you enjoy watching live streams. But that's gonna be it. Alright, peace.